Okay, here we go. This is going to be a wild ride. So, it's a very touchy topic, and you know, a lot of people have a lot of, strong feelings about this. They have emotional reactions one way or the other. So, many times it's because they're holding on to something that brings them comfort and they don't want to face the music on that issue. So, anyway, um, this is very important to get this ironed out. There are Bible verses that are confusing, okay? And I see, people would think these verses point one way and other verses point another way and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to go straight through my list in order from Matthew through Revelation, and then I have other items at the end. So I'll try to do this as quick as I can. I do need to keep this as one video. Okay, so the first one is Matthew chapter 10, verse 22. Okay, and again, there's context to all of them. I'm going to try to summarize that, but I can't spend all day on each one of these because it's a long list. So, 22. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved. So, this is all in context of persecution for being a Christian. So, if somebody falls away due to pressure, then they fell away. Okay, you have to endure to the end to be saved. That's the point here. Okay, so that's one. And don't worry, there are many, many more. Now, 13. Verses 20 to 21. Okay, this one is under the parable of the sower, where they sow seed and some falls here on this kind of ground and that kind of ground. Some falls by the wayside. Now here, 20. But he who receives the seed on stony places, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now he who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. So this could be that he stays, but he's just not bearing fruit. All right, and then the last one is he produces fruit. All right, so anyway, there's that. Now 24. But the possibility that some fall away is there. Okay, 24. Verse 13. Okay, here these are parallels as well. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. Okay, and this is the Matthew 24 where the things about the end are spoken about. And so that's the context here. And then we have Mark 13. Verse 13. This one is like the other one, okay, and you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. Okay, now Luke 8. But the ones on the rock are those who, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no root, who believe for a while, and in time of temptation fall away. So this is, the same thing the parable of the sower explained, but it's acknowledging, they're believers for a while, and then they fall away. By temptation, they fell away. Okay, so you have to acknowledge this possibility exists, all right? Okay, so now John 15, verse 6. Okay, this is the vine and the branches. So, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Without me, you can do nothing. Verse 6, if anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. So here we also see the possibility that this can be if somebody not abiding in him. Okay, if that wasn't possible, it wouldn't even be mentioned. Why would there be a warning if it wasn't even possible that that could ever happen? Okay. Now we have Romans 11:22. Okay. Therefore, consider the goodness and severity of God on those who fell, severity, but toward you goodness, if you continue in his goodness. Otherwise, you also will be cut off. Okay, so there's a conditional if you. That means there's a possibility that you don't. Okay, so that's that one. And that's all about belief and unbelief in that section of Romans. Okay, next we have 1 Corinthians. First Corinthians 9, verse 27. Here, striving for a crown. Okay, here it's running the race to win, competing for the crown or the prize. All right, but that's the context. 27, but I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest, which means unless, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. Okay, this is Paul the Apostle talking here. So he's acknowledging the possibility that if he falls away, he would become disqualified. Okay. If this wasn't a real thing, it wouldn't even be warned against. So we have that. And then we have 10, 1 through 13, it's kind of long. I'll try to read it quick. Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud, all passed through the sea, All were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. All ate the same spiritual food. All drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with most of them, God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. And do not become idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain, as some of them also complained and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now all these things happened to them as examples. And they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Okay, so this isn't just, oh, well, that was just the Old Testament, we're under grace now, so it's okay, Nope, because he just said these were examples written for us to learn from. Okay, so why would he say that if that were the case? All right, that there's a danger for us as well, and we need to learn from this as an example, because it is a warning for us that the same thing can happen. Okay, it says it right there, for our admonishing. Okay, 12. Therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. Again, why would the warning be there otherwise? All right. So that's it. And then it just goes on, more details about that. Okay. 1 through 13. So that's done. Okay. Next is 15, 1 through 2. All right, moreover, brethren, I declare to you the gospel which I preached to you, which you also received, and in which you stand, by which also you are saved, if you hold fast that word which I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. Again, he's acknowledging the possibility that that could happen. That somebody doesn't hold fast to the word preached to them, and then they believed in vain. The warning wouldn't be there if the danger wasn't there. Okay? The little word if says it all, and the little word unless as well. If you hold fast, it's conditional. If you hold fast, that word, he's talking about salvation, by which also you were saved. If you hold fast that word which I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. So then it's possible. Okay, there's no way to argue your way out of this. That's what it is. Some people just don't want to know, but that's what it is. Okay, so 1 Corinthians. Next is Galatians. No, Philippians. No, Galatians. That comes, yeah. Here, Galatians 3. Verse 4. Okay, have you suffered so many things in vain, if indeed it was in vain? So, same idea that they went through all this here, O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ was clearly portrayed among you as crucified? This only I want to learn from you. Did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law, or by the hearing of faith? Are you so foolish? Having begun in the Spirit, are you now being made perfect by the flesh? Have you suffered so many things in vain, if indeed it was in vain? Okay, so here we see they are a group that was saved, clearly, and they're being deceived by the Judaizers to go back under the law, fall from grace, and thus fall away. And then they would have believed in vain because they fell away. Okay, he's warning against that. So that's there. All right. And then 5, 1 through 4. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with a yoke of bondage. He's talking about the legalizers, like Judaizers and the law stuff again. Indeed, I, Paul, say to you that if you become circumcised, Christ will profit you nothing. This doesn't mean you can never get circumcised. It was because they were doing it for the purpose of salvation. Okay, that's going back under the law. That was deception by the Judaizers, and then they're falling away from grace. And they were falling away from being saved. That's the danger. And I testify again to every man who becomes circumcised that he is a debtor to keep the whole law. You have become estranged from Christ. You who attempt to be justified by law, you have fallen from grace. Okay? You've fallen from grace, and they fell away. Okay? All right. So there's that one. Okay, Philippians. Okay. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay, now a lot of people, a lot of cults will use this to say we're saved by works. Okay. And then other people, and that's not what it is, because it says, for it is God who works in you both to will and to do for his good pleasure. So, we're saved by grace, we're not saved by works. But then they'll try to say that, but, then people say that you maintain salvation by works. And it's like, well, it's really that you're surrendering to the Holy Spirit. Like it says right here, God works in you, like through you. You surrender to the Holy Spirit, and he gives you the power to keep doing those things, like abstaining from sin, doing good works, whatever it is, all those things that please God that we're supposed to do, and that's it. So it's not the works, it's really submitting to God. Once you stop submitting to God, you are in rebellion, and that's when you fall away. So it kind of is like, you do fall away. You can fall away, but it's based on your surrender to God or lack thereof. And the other things just come based on that or not, So anyway.